So if you follow me on that stupid clock app that loves banning me for no reason, you probably know that we're working on a game called Project BLACKMOOF that dares to ask the question, what would the spawn of an unholy union between Call of Duty Zombies and Luigi's Mansion look like? Now, I don't really want to get double prosecuted by Nintendo and Activision, so this isn't going to be us just Frankensteining the two games together. That wouldn't be fun anyway. I want to design a game, not copy a game. While we're on the topic, the game concept didn't even really come from this idea of making a Call of Duty Luigi's Mansion hybrid. It actually originally came from this dream I had where I was playing this game and I was running around this city with this sonic shotgun just like blasting people to pieces. And I would hit this other button and it would like suck up all their limbs. And the goal was for me to collect as many limbs as I could within the time limit to then use to fight this like giant cosmic deity that was descending on the earth. So I woke up before I got a chance to see how exactly you would use the limbs to fight this thing, but I imagine you made a giant flesh golem and then you hopped into it Gundam style and used it to just absolutely kick the thing's ass. And that would be awesome, but it's also way outside the scope of this project with its complete lack of resources and funding. By the way, the game's gonna be free. It's only gonna be on the PC, Mac, and Linux for now, but depending on the response we get, we're definitely open to considering trying to secure funding and turning this into like a whole project. So that would mean, you know, multiplayer, single player campaign, console ports, all the good shit. I mean, personally, I would really like that. I already wrote a bunch of lore, and I would hate to see it go to waste, so... Yeah, and then the day after I had that dream, we sat down and we mapped out the original concept for the game, and Justin was like, oh, you know what this sounds like? That's a horrible Justin impression. That's not what he sounds like. I'm sorry, Justin. But yeah, that's how the whole hybrid idea started, which was really helpful because now we had a sort of touchstone in terms of where to pull design inspiration from. Obviously, we can't just take mechanics from these two games and just like mash them together. That just wouldn't work. We need to design our own mechanics that are going to work in the context of our game. But a good reference gives us something to pick apart. We can ask the question, why is this fun? And then use the answer to inform our own design. We decided to make this an FPS game and to embrace that cosmic horror vibe because that image of this giant eldritch being just looming over you as you fought wave after wave of enemies is just too good to pass up. We also decided we're going to inject a healthy dose of ridiculousness into this because, you know, this image doesn't exactly scream dead serious. So with all that decided, we got to work and immediately we faced our first challenge, the challenge of understanding 3D. Up to this point, we'd only ever worked in 2D, which meant we only ever had to worry about the X and Y axes. But 3D adds a whole other axis, the Z axis. The Z-axis. So I got to work on getting a character moving around, and Justin started on the enemies. Zombies are overplayed and boring, honestly, and this is coming from someone who had a roughly 14-year-long zombie obsession. I'm just tired of shooting them. I'm sure everyone else is too. So we needed something more interesting. I think it's worth mentioning that no one on the team has any meaningful 3D modeling experience. I mean, this took me an hour. So we're limited in terms of what we can do for this game artistically. We've literally had to seek out free assets for everything. Challenge number 2 was coming up with a unique and creepy enemy that didn't come with a ton of artistic overhead. We landed on puppet demons. It's definitely unique, definitely creepy, and didn't require more than some ragdoll physics and some code. I may be making that out to seem way easier than it was. Justin did all the coding for it, so I'll never know for sure how difficult it would have been for a normal person to do something like that. That guy makes everything sound easy. Like he could just code an entire neural network and be like, yeah bro, nothing to it. That is the worst. It's a horrible impression. It's like I don't even know the guy. That is a horrible... Yo, can you say something for me? Like he could just code an entire neural network and be like,
yeah bro, nothing to it.
Fucking Computers McMulligan over here. You know what, I'm changing his name to that in the Discord server. He'll get it when he sees the video. By the way, join the Discord. We post regular development updates there and we host cool contests and stuff. For example, right now we're doing this thing where we're having people send us sound clips of them doing puppet demon sounds, and we're gonna put the best ones in the game. Sounds pretty cool, don't it? I'll just leave the link in the description for you. See you there, friend. Anyway, The player controller took me a whole day because of Zaxxas and his bullshit. In that time, Computers McMulligan got the enemies, a wave counter, and some preliminary difficulty scaling up and running. I handled gun sway and the actual shooting, which has no feedback in this clip, but does eventually kill this box.
What you say?
We were also initially going to set the game in a city, but being on the floor was kind of boring, and jumping from rooftop to rooftop wouldn't have worked exactly the way we wanted it to unless we designed the environment with that in mind. We then merged our projects and put this monstrosity in as a placeholder for the eventual great old one. Honestly, things were going pretty great, and for a second we thought we might have something playable within 2 weeks. But then we started trying to do recoil, and holy Cthulhu, recoil sucks. Fun fact, according to H.P. Lovecraft, Cthulhu is not actually how you pronounce that name. Apparently humans can't pronounce that name, but the closest approximation is Clolu. I am super fun at parties. So yeah, recoil. We started by trying to fake it by chaining together functions from these 2 different libraries, and it was gross. It took so much doing to get it to function the way we wanted, and it just made me feel filthy. We also got some weird bugs. So, we did some research and we found out that a lot of AAA games handle recoil by attaching the gun to a spring joint and then applying a force to the barrel. This actually functions a lot like recoil in real life, with the spring joint acting like human arms, which, fun fact part 2, you need to shoot a gun. So I wrote this joke and then immediately found this news story about this woman who learned to shoot a gun with her feet, and I'm not even mad. This is very impressive. We ended up not using a force, but rather applying a rotation. It functions roughly the same way, we just have a lot more control over how the gun moves. And I'm not saying that this is a better way to handle it, it's just how we chose to handle it. Uh-oh, here comes a new challenger. Guns have bullets, and bullets go bye-bye. And then what do? Reload? Pfft, idiot. Reloading is for people who aren't Dr. Blackmore. That's the main character of the game, by the way, Dr. Blackmore. We weren't even sure how to go about applying reload animations to the free models that we found, so we just didn't do that. Instead, when you run out of bullets, you just yeet your gun at some puppet demon's face and summon another one, and you are totally free to use another weapon while you wait for that weapon to return. I'm thinking infinite bullets, but a cooldown once your clip is empty that would be dependent on how powerful the weapon is. So, a long cooldown on the LMG, but little to no cooldown on the pistol. Aside from just generally being more fun than having to stop and reload, this also sort of forces you to use all the guns you have at your disposal. You also don't get that break in the action that you get from having to reload. You just swap guns and wait for your other gun to come off cooldown. It also keeps the pistol relevant in later rounds because it will have the lowest cooldown by far. Plus, then we could put in a purchasable upgrade that makes your gun explode and deal damage after you throw it. By the way, I came up with a lore reason for this supernatural gun swapping. I don't really want to spoil it, so I'm going to leave it at that. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at right now. We're going to take a little bit of time to get some technical things up and running, and then it's on to the Luigi's Mansion bit. Right now, our concept for that mechanic is sort of a modified version of the mechanic from my dream. You're going to have to kill the puppet demons with your gun, and then use your supernatural uptaker chopper and crusher to literally suck chunks off them. The strings will provide some resistance for you to fight against, and the other puppet demons aren't just going to sit around and watch while you suck their comrades, so that's another thing to contend with. I'm thinking we might add a Sparta kick to help keep them off your back. That would be pretty cool. The chunks you collect are going to get ground up into flesh slurry. The chunks you collect are going to get ground up into meat slurry, which you can then use to buy upgrades and eventually win the game. It's definitely shaping up to be a lot more of a project than we initially intended, but we're having a really great time. And this whole disturbing horror with a sense of humor vibe is something I've always really loved. Plus, it's super great to have this no idea is too stupid kind of freedom. I actually really love taking things that seem super stupid on the surface and then working them into something with depth, which funny enough is a great segue to explain the name of our company. So my wife Shoyu Chick came up with our name, and where she's from in the Shizuoka prefecture of Japan, baka doesn't just mean stupid. It can also mean awesome or be used for emphasis, kind of like how we use stupid with 2 O's. So our name means both extremely awesome games and extremely stupid games, which I think really matches our personalities. All right. That's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.